Do you enjoy drinking Cooper's Dark Ale and thought you wouldn't mind making it yourself with their homebrew kit? Then come along with me and I'll show you how easy it really is. Let's go. Hey guys, Musa here from Quantum Home Improvements and Solutions. Welcome back. And if this is your first time to our channel, it's great having you join us. And so today I'm going to show you how to make Cooper's Dark Ale. And so if you haven't tried it before, it has a hint of chocolate, it has a balanced bitterness taste, a creamy head with a dry finish. And so I've been brewing now for around about 15 years and had a lot of success with the Cooper's Homebrew kit. Now, if you are interested, I will put a link below for their products. So it's very easy to make all the different type of Cooper's Homebrews. So the first thing you've got to do is put their syrup in boiling water to let it soften. But first, we take the lid off just by pulling this little section here. Okay. And then we take this little packet of yeast off and we keep it on the side for later. But also they have instructions. So they've got the little section that says peel here, and you just peel that off. Okay, so we put the instructions on the side and we use it as a reference if we need it. Okay, so now I'll put it in boiling water. So while the syrup is softening, I'm going to sterilize and sanitize the fermenter and all the equipment I'm going to be using today. And I'm going to be using Country Brewers chlorinated trisodium phosphate and also their phosphoric acid. Now, the reason I'm using both, because the home is an uncontrolled environment for bad bacteria. And so I try to minimize the chance of this failing. And me being a responsible YouTuber would prefer to teach you or show you the full method than just taking a shortcut. Now, there are a lot of people that have success just using Sterilize and Starzan, but they do know what they're doing and they're very careful with their equipment. So I just prefer to show you the proper way. And one thing to note is you don't wash anything down with soap because that's no good for the brew either. Okay, so now I'll put some gloves on and show you how to do it. So with the Cooper's fermenter, it comes in 3 parts. So you've got the lid, the sleeve, and the base. Now with the kit, you'll get a spoon, you'll get a little bottler to bottle the brew later, a tap, and a couple of clips. Now, this kit is the 23-litre kit, and you do get 30 bottles with that as well. So Coopers do recommend that you just spray a bit of water on to put the tap on, so don't use any oil, and just slip that in like that, and just wiggle it to make sure it's in place. So that's on, that's off. So make sure it's off. And so now, we're gonna use the chlorinated trisodium phosphate, and basically you put a teaspoon per litre, and we're gonna be putting 2 litres in here, so I'll put 2 teaspoons. And now we put 2 litres of boiling water, and we just let that cool down for a minute, and then we'll clean it out. So just be careful, it is still warm. So I'm just dipping into the base and just washing it all down, and I'm being very comprehensive. I'll wash the rim as well, and also on the outside. I'll also wash the spoon down, the sleeve. So this chlorinated trisodium phosphate cleans everything. You'll see when you wash things down with it, it'll go a little bit brown if you've fermented with the brewer before. Now, when you first get your brew kit, you do not need to sterilize. You can just give it a spray with sanitizer. Now we'll do the lid. Just wash the little bottler. And now I'll just wash it out in cold water. Okay, but first I'll just let some run through the tap. Clean that out. I'll take the tap off and just let it run through the hole, through the outlet. And now I'll just wash that down. Okay, now we'll spray this bench down with phosphoric acid. Okay, so this is a food grade, and so when you spray this on, you do not need to wash it down again. You just tip out all the residue. And now I'll spray the sleeve, put that on. Now we'll put the tap back on. Again, I'll use the phosphoric acid and spray that, spray inside the tap. There we go. Close the tap back up. And once again, put the tap on. All right. So now we'll just tip out the residue and we're ready to go. Okay, so now I need to boil up some hot water and then we'll open the syrup tin and put the syrup in. It's going to be pretty warm, so just put a tea towel or something around it so you can carry it. This smells quite nice actually. Okay, so now we've put the boiling water around about 1 litre, depending on the time of year and how cold it is, but it's not too cold at the moment. We're going to try to get this to 21 degrees Celsius, so we'll just pour in about 1 litre. That should be enough. And now we'll just pour in the syrup. There we go, that is really dark. Okay, so now you can see there's a lot of syrup still inside, so now we're going to put the remainder of the water and just wash that down. Okay, so now just give that a bit of a swirl, just to clean up those edges. Look at that, that's beautiful. All right, so now we'll just pour it in. Okay, so we've got it all. Okay, so now we'll just give that a little bit of a swirl, just to mix that in. Now we're going to put in Cooper's Brewing Enhancer number 3. And so the Brewing Enhancer number 3 has a higher proportion of light dry malt, has dextrose and maltodextrin. So all we do is just pour that in, but pour it in really slowly because it does clog up a bit when it hits the fluid. So just stir that in very, very slowly. So you can see how that's clogging up a little bit. Okay, that's it. So now I'm going to put some clean tap water. So you can use tap water. I've been using this tap water for 10 years and it hasn't been a problem for me. So just make sure that it is clean. And we now take this up to 23 litres. Okay, so one thing to note, that every brew has a brewing temperature depending on what yeast you use. So I'm going to use Cooper's yeast that they've provided. So if you have a colder climate, you can find a different yeast that brews in colder climates, or if you have a hotter climate, yeast that brews in warmer climates. Okay, so this particular one, Cooper say that the yeast needs to be pitched at between 21 to 27 degree. So just be careful how much hot water you do put in, because if it's a warm day, you need to put less hot water. And that way you don't have to wait so long to come under the 27 degree. Okay, so now I'm going to take a hydrometer reading. There we go. Pour a little bit into the cylinder. Now I do it very slowly because it will froth up. Okay, so now I'll just put in the hydrometer and see what reading we get. Now Cooper say it should be 1038. Let's see how accurate we are. There we go, 1038, spot on. Okay. So now whatever you do not put this back in the brew. Either taste it or throw it out. Wow, that's nice. You can taste the chocolate just marginally, and it is a little bitter. One thing I didn't mention before is if you are brewing from scratch and using grain, you do tend to boil out your oxygen from the water. Now, in this case here, we've put tap water and it's already got oxygen in it. Okay, so now once your temperature has gone below 27 degree, you can pitch your yeast. So I'll just put in the yeast now. So all we do is just sprinkle the yeast on top. Don't stir that in. Okay, so the last thing to do now is to put the lid on. Put the clips over it, hold it in place, and we leave it to ferment for at least 6 days. So Cooper say to leave it for 6 days minimum, and then do your hydrometer reading to see if it's stabilised for 2 days consecutive. Now I generally go up to 8 days, but that depends on the weather. So if it's a bit warm, I'll bottle it earlier. Now if the temperature is getting warmer while it's brewing, put it in a cooler spot. If it's getting too cold, you could put a heat pad under it and a blanket. It's the 7th day and the Cooper's Dark Ale Brew is now ready to be bottled. Now, usually bottle on the 8th day, as I said before, but the temperature has been a little bit higher than I expected. So I was trying to get it around the 21 degree, but in actual fact, it's been sitting roughly about 23 and 24 degrees Celsius. So when it is warmer, it's better to bottle it earlier. So depending on what yeast you're using. And so I've done a couple of hydrometer readings and it has stabilized, but I will do one more. So when you are bottling, it's best to put a towel down because you will make a little bit of a mess. Okay, and I'll just bring this fermenter over, nice and steady. Okay, and I'll pour some into the cylinder. That's looking really good. It's a nice dark beer. It smells nice too. Okay. And there we go, 1008. And so the brew is definitely stabilized, and going by Cooper's chart, the original specific gravity was 1038, which is roughly about 5% potential alcohol level. And so now the final specific gravity just came out at 1008, which is roughly 1% potential alcohol level. So what you do is you minus the 1% from the 5, which gives you 4% alcohol level, and then in the secondary fermentation process, which happens in the bottle, that'll increase another 0.5%. So this brew will become 4.5% alcohol content. Once again, don't put this back into the fermenter, either throw it out or once again just try it. Wow, that tastes nice. I can't wait to try this when it finishes fermenting. Okay, so now we need to sterilize and sanitize the bottles like we did for the fermenter, and then we can start bottling the brew. Okay, so now to wash the bottles, I'm going to use this bottle washer, which I did get from Country Brewer. And so now I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of chlorinated trisodium phosphate and just 1 litre of water. And I'm going to let that sit and just cool down a bit so it doesn't melt the bottles. Okay, so it's cooled down a bit. It's still pretty warm, so watch out. One thing I forgot to mention, I did add a washer to this device because the bottle can slip through without it. Okay, so now we'll wash the bottles. This is pretty easy to do. So just pump that down, push down, and the water sprays to the top and it cleans it beautifully. And you'll see a lot of dirt come out of these bottles. Now what I'm going to do is put this on this bottle tree, which is a Morgan's product, and it's just a game changer. And the great thing about this bottle tree, that it has this tray here, so you can allow the bottles just to drip into that tray and it doesn't go onto the bench. In actual fact, you can fit 81 bottles on this bottle tree. So these are just attachments, they just screw on. So there's 4 on here at the moment, so I can get 32 bottles on here easily, but there's more attachments, so you can go up to 80 bottles on the outside and then just 1 on top. So after only 15 bottles, you can see how dirty the water's got. Okay, last one. Now I'm going to wash them comprehensively in cold water. Okay, so I've washed out the bottle washer and put fresh cold water in there. All right, same deal. So once again, this phosphoric acid is a food grade and you don't need to wash them out. Just let them sit on the bottle tree, let them drain, and then they're ready for bottling. All done. So the last thing we need to do before we bottle is change the lids. So these lids can lose their seal and you need to change them periodically. And so when you do get new lids, you can get them from Cooper's, you've got to take this flange off because it won't fit the bottle anymore. So you've got to just remove that flange and then you're ready. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of phosphoric acid on the bench just to keep that sanitized. The bench may be dirty. Okay, so now I'm just going to put on the little bottler. So I'll just give this a quick spray. And spray the tap, make sure that's all sanitized, and just put the little bottler in. Done. Okay, so now just take these clips off, just to take the pressure off. Just leave it like that. Put the clips on the side, and we're ready to bottle. So basically just turn the tap on. And so this little bottler has a valve on the bottom, so as you raise your bottle up, it hits the valve and the valve releases the brew into the bottle. And so the first couple will be a little frothy. So I'll just put that on the side. Okay, there we are. And so I have another bottle ready, so I don't waste time or waste any brew. Okay, so what I'm going to do is turn that tap off. So when you do bottle, it's best to put your carbonated drops in straight away. So I've done 6 there. So I'll put the carbonated drops in and then come back to it. So these are Cooper's carbonated drops, and the carbonated drops are to help to carbonate the beer in the secondary fermentation period. So you put 2 drops per 750 or 740 ml bottle, and you put 1 drop per 375 ml bottle. So as soon as you put the drops in, close it with the lid straight away. Okay, and do it really tight, because if you don't, it will lose its gases and the beer will be worthless. Okay, so they're done. Now I'll get back to bottling. So now we're getting too close to the tap height and there's not much more that's going to come out. So what I do is just lift up the back end. Just slowly let that gently come down. And just bottle. So Coopers have designed it this way so you don't get too much sediment into your bottles, but This will be fine until it gets to about here, and there will be a bit of sediment, but I'll leave those bottles on the side as my tester bottles as it's fermenting, and then I can taste them. Okay, we're finished. And now I'll just carbonate these ones, and we're done. The dark ale is now complete, and Coopers say that it's ready to drink at around 3 weeks. And all Coopers products are GMO free, which is genetically modified, organism free, and they have the best after date. So I actually prefer to drink their beer after 2.5 to 3 months because I think it tastes better. So a good habit to get into when you are making a brew is to write down what brew it is and also what day you brewed it, just as a reference. So if you like, I'll put a link below for all the products I used through this video, and also I'll put a link in for Coopers and for Country Brewer. So making your own brew can be very satisfying and cost effective, but I've got to say, please drink responsibly. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have any comments at all, please leave them below and I will get back to you. And I'd ask you, please consider to subscribe, hit the like button and share this video, and there's many more to come. Thanks guys.